What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who Classic Review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the second Doctor Patrick Troughton story, The Power of the Daleks. This is the second Doctor's first ever story, so it is the first post-regeneration story ever in Doctor Who, which is a pretty big thing, of course. It's the first time a Doctor had ever regenerated, and this is the first story for that new Doctor, so really interesting one. Sadly, this one is only available, it's available on DVD, but it's all animated, all 6 episodes, all 6 parts are animated, which is a little bit unfortunate, but at least we do have it out on DVD already, so that we can watch it in full, at least in some way. So anyway, this is The Power of the Daleks, who I'm not sure who it's by, because it doesn't say on here. Maybe it says, it just says written by David Whittaker and Dennis Spooner on the Wikipedia page. It doesn't actually say that on the DVD, which is interesting. So yeah, this is The Power of the Daleks. The 6-part adventure takes place immediately after the first regeneration, as the Time Lord and his companions Polly and Ben do battle with an old foe on the mysterious planet Vulcan. How will Polly and Ben cope with the new Doctor? How will the Doctor take to his new body? And how will they ever overcome the power of the Daleks? So yeah, a bit of a different sort of kind of synopsis on the back of the DVD there, just set out a little bit differently for some reason. This is one of the more recent DVD releases, actually being released in 2016. I think the only other story to come after this was, well, so far, is the Macra Terror. I think Sharda may have also come after this, but you know, that wasn't actually fully released back in its day. So yeah, this is a very, very new one, so it is, you know, it's actually set up a little bit different and everything. But anyway, let's get on to this one, starting off with the cast. Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor. So yeah, this is Patrick Troughton's first ever appearance as the second Doctor. He obviously had some big shoes to filling in, well, basically taking over from William Hartnell, who at that point was the only other Doctor, and this whole regeneration thing was basically made up on the spot after William Hartnell, they didn't feel was really made for the role anymore. He was getting too sick and just wasn't really in the kind of health, he wasn't in a healthy place to do it, so Patrick Troughton took over and they kind of made the whole regeneration thing. So this was a really big step for Patrick Troughton. Do I think he's good in this story? I do think he's very good. He starts off a lot in part 1 not saying a whole lot, kind of just mumbling to himself and, you know, being a little bit weird, which is to be expected. I mean, you know, we've seen in, you know, post-regenerations after this, you know, further on regenerations, that the Doctor after he/she regenerates seems to go a bit weird and a bit kooky for a little while, and that does definitely happen here. I mean, the second Doctor is known as being one of the more goofy Doctors it is, but especially after his regeneration, he's a bit strange. He's playing the flute a hell of a lot, which is kind of interesting, and yeah, he's just a little bit weird, but altogether, yeah, Patrick Troughton does great in this. Obviously, I can't really say much about his performance because it is only voice acting really that I can hear, because this is all completely animated, but yeah, from what I can tell, at least with, you know, what he's doing, he's really, really good. Annette Wills as Polly is also very, very good. I do quite like Polly. She's a companion that I'm coming to quite enjoy. A lot of her stuff isn't actually available to watch currently, but slowly, actually, with the ones that they're animating and everything, there is a lot more of her and Ben that's getting put out there, so I'm really enjoying her. The same goes for Michael Craze as Ben Jackson. I think he's really good as well. His animation style, I don't quite like. I don't really like how he looks in the animation. His face looks really he looks really old, and just, I don't like how they made him look in this animation. I think he looked much better in, for instance, the Moon Base, and I believe also in the 10th Planet, because I think that was the same sort of animation, whereas they've kind of gone a bit more 3D in this one, and most characters actually look alright, but Ben looks really weird in this one. But as for just Michael Craze and Ben as a character, yeah, he's perfectly great. Alright, so going on to the good and the bad, starting off with the good. The Doctor acting strange after regenerating. I said this before, it's something that happens all the time now whenever the Doctor regenerates. They go a bit, I have to keep saying they, I'm going to say he now and again because it's just kind of natural, but you know, I kind of have to say they now because the Doctor is also a woman. But yeah, they kind of act strange after regenerating. It's just kind of a thing that happens. Don't know why. Maybe it's just the regeneration energy. It kind of goes to their head a bit and they go a bit kooky. But this was obviously the first time that happened, and I think Patrick Troughton did a great job of it. And I mean, his Doctor was kind of like that anyway, even later on. But yeah, it does work very, very well from the start. The Daleks look good in this animation style. That is one thing I did mention, and I will mention this later on, but I don't think some of the people didn't look great, especially Ben, just didn't really work out for me, but I think the Daleks really look good when animated in this more 3D animation style. You know, this is a bit more kind of 3D than the moon base, than the 10th planet and things like that. It's just, it works for some things. It really works for the Daleks. I think the Daleks look great. For people, some people look fine, some people don't. But yeah, the Daleks I think look really, really good in this animation style, and it suits them really well. Lesterson bringing a Dalek back to life to use in the mines. So yeah, the Doctor finds out that there's this capsule, and inside there were 3 Daleks. He only finds 2, and then he finds a space where he could tell there was one before. It turns out that the scientist Lesterson, he's actually got one of these Daleks, and he's trying to bring it back to life because he wants to use these Daleks in the mines. He doesn't know that they're ruthless killers. He does eventually find out that they have a gun attachment, and you know, takes the gun attachment off, which is reasonable of him, but he's still kind of already done the damage. So yeah, he's trying to bring these Daleks back, not because he wants to rule the world and kill everyone, but because he just wants to use these as you know, as a workforce. And I guess you can kind of understand that. It does, you know, it does make sense in a way. You've got these kind of robot-like creatures. They don't actually know at this point that they are actually living creatures. They just think they're kind of robots or whatever they are. They don't know there's a living creature inside them at this point. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept, and I do quite like it. You can see that Victory of the Daleks took inspiration from this. Victory of the Daleks is a story from Series 5 of the new series, one that I don't really like. I mean, to be honest, a lot of it I actually do quite like. Victory of the Daleks, the thought of it and everything is cool. It's mainly the Paradigm Daleks and the whole end of it, really. It's once the Paradigm Daleks are introduced, it kind of really goes downhill from that point onwards. But honestly, everything before that's pretty good. The Daleks kind of pretending to be servants, and the Doctor just doesn't understand why. I do quite like that stuff, and that's basically what's happening here. Even the Daleks, you know, carrying around like glasses of water and being, "I am your servant." It's literally mirroring Victory of the Daleks, which, even though I didn't really like Victory of the Daleks much in the first place, it actually maybe diminishes it even more, because I'm thinking, well, they actually didn't really go too kind of unique there. They took an idea that's pretty much already done in this story. I mean, it's the same thing, Daleks, you know, using themselves, pretending to be servants. I suppose in Victory it was more that, more that Winston Churchill and all them thought that, what was his name? Professor Bracewell, wasn't it? Created the Daleks and is doing this. Whereas in this one, you know, Lesterson finds the Daleks and tries to make them his workers. So it's a little bit different, but it is very, very similar. However, I do quite like the similarities between them. The Daleks creating more Daleks. So it starts off with only 3 Daleks, only one of which gets woken up initially by Lesterson, then the other 2 get woken up as well. He manages to figure out how to kind of get the power going so that they can have enough power, but kind of every now and again, if they try and get too out of hand, he turns the power down and says, you know, you work for me, I can turn the power off whenever and you're basically just dead. But in the meantime, the Daleks are going into their capsule, and they've actually figured out a way to, you know, reroute the power to their capsule so they can have all this power all the time, even when he turns the power off. And they manage to get Lesterson to get a bunch of materials for them, and make a bunch more Daleks. And I love the scene in the factory where it shows the Daleks building other Daleks. It's something that's a bit strange to me, you know, Daleks doing stuff like that, like in a factory. It seems very strange to me. I always think of Daleks as just killing everything, but you know what? It really works here, and I love the look of it, and I bet that looks, I really want to know how that looked in the original. Like, obviously with animation, they've probably got so many more Daleks. I mean, in the original version, they probably only had like 3 actual prop Daleks, and maybe they, I don't know, did some things to kind of Photoshop some here and there, or something like that. Obviously not Photoshop back then, but you know what I mean. But in the animation, it just looks like there's thousands and thousands of Daleks, and just that whole kind of sequence of the Daleks making other Daleks, making the actual Dalek embryo itself. It's just such a fascinating scene, and I really enjoyed it. And then finally, Bragan being the rebel leader, I thought that was kind of cool. Slightly saw it coming in a way, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. You know, they're talking about the rebels this whole time. It turns out that Bragan and also that woman who is it Jane Lee or something like that, they're both part of the rebels, and I thought that was quite interesting there. So yeah, that was all good stuff. onto the bad. Animation not as good in my opinion as the moon base, especially Ben. Like I said, the Daleks work really well, but I just personally, I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen the moon base and the 10th planet, which also had the same sort of animation, but I just don't think this animation is really quite as good as that. It's much more 3D, and like I said, the Daleks work really well in it, but Ben especially just doesn't look great. And although the Doctor doesn't look too bad in this animation style, I do think he looks better in the moon base. So yeah, I do think I prefer the animation that they used to do rather than this newer animation style, which I'm pretty sure is the same animation style they did for the Macro Terror, and I'm presuming they're doing for, you know, the faceless ones and all these other ones that they're going to eventually release. And then the only other bad thing I have to say is that the Daleks repeating phrases can get really annoying. I think this actually happened a bit in the Dalek Invasion of Earth, and it's one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of that story compared to some people. The Daleks repeat phrases way too much, and in this one there's a lot of phrases that they repeat that it doesn't make sense why they're repeating them. It's like, we are the Daleks, we have the power or something, and they just say it over and over again, and it's just like, why are you saying that multiple times? You don't need to. And they pretty much always use it. There's about 3 parts of this 6-part story which all end on a cliffhanger of the Daleks repeating silly phrases. So I thought that was a bit annoying, but other than that, the Daleks are really good, the story's really good, and there isn't a whole lot to complain about on the whole. Alright, so for a rating for the Power of the Daleks, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. I was debating, do I give it a 10? Do I give it a 9? I thought it was a bit better than some of the other 9s that I've given. Like other stories that I've given 9s, I thought it's a bit better than those, but it's not as good as the 10s that I've given episodes. It kind of sits around with the other couple of 9.5s that I've given. So I'm giving it a 9.5. I don't think it's perfect. I think if the Daleks weren't quite as annoying, I'd probably give it a 10, and then, you know, the animation, I try not to bump it down too much because of that, because obviously, you know, it's just, we don't have the original version, this is what we've got. But yeah, it's close to a 10, it definitely is close to a 10, but I'm giving it a 9.5 at the moment. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, go and follow me on Twitter, link is in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video.